any type. Each player would then mark their choice down on their sheet. The host would check with all other guests that they're ready to continue the party, at which point they could reply, "Carry on," or something equally appropriate, at which point the host would roll again, and you would scavenge again. Each round you all scavenge a total of 3 times, again using the same 3 dice rolls, everyone making a choice from the same set of options, before moving on to what is my favourite part of any social occasion, seeing if you can outdo the host. One by one, the host is going to go down these different types of supply: cocktail swords, baubles, straw, crumbs, rags, and flowers. And they're going to inquire around the table if people have more than they do. So as the host, let's just say I might have 4 cocktail swords. So I would say, does anybody have more than 4 cocktail swords? And if you, as a rat at this party, do have more than 4, then you would say, yes, I do. And you would explain how many you have. Yes, I have 8, actually. If you do not have more than 4, including if you have the same amount, you do not have more. And therefore you will say, rats. I have 4 baubles. Rats. 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 I have 6. Fancy. If nobody has more of that type of supply than the host, then the host will spend all supplies that they currently have in that space and gain the reward that that type of supply offers. But if other players do have more than the host, then the host keeps their supplies, and anybody who has more, with the highest quantity going first, will each spend all of those resources and take that action one at a time. Now we'll go through what these actions do in just a moment, but the crucial thing is, if you do get to take an action, then you will get rid of all of that type of resource you've collected so far. If you don't get to take an action, you do not spend any of those resources, and you carry them on to the next round. Well, hopefully, you will be the person who has the most baubles in the boat. But why exactly would you want to be the person who has the most of any type of these resources? Well, that's because you get to do special fancy things. First but not least, we have cocktail swords. Any player who has more cocktail swords than the host, or if none do, then the host, get to choose any player and specifically request from them a number of a resource. Now, there are some major caveats with how this works. Firstly, you have to get the quantity right. If I hold you up with a tiny cocktail stick and say, would you be so kind as to hand over 15 of your crumbs, then first of all, I have to be polite about it. Come on, you might be mugging somebody blind at a party, but let's be reasonable and nice about it. After that, crucially, they don't have to give you anything unless they have at least that many of that type of resource. If I ask for 15 crumbs and you have 20, then hard luck, you're going to give me 15 crumbs. But if you've only got 14, then you simply say no. Oh, I'm terribly sorry, I don't have that many of that thing. And the other person can make whatever unhappy face they want to make. The second caveat here that's really important, you can't request cocktail swords or any supply someone else just took from a rat on this same turn. With the slightly fiddly but wonderfully dastardly horrible rule straight out of the way, we move on to baubles. Any players who beat the host or the host themselves will simply get rid of all of their baubles to gain 5 of any type of supply that they choose. Getting cozy now, straw allows you to build a nest, circling one of the nests next to any of the 6 types of supplies, and mean that any of that resource you gain in the future via a dice roll is doubled. So a 6 is suddenly a 12. It's pretty neat. Delicately popping on to crumbs, these simply allow you to cook a dish, crossing out all of the crumbs you currently have in your supply and adding a dish of that value into the dishes section of your sheet. Rags do the same thing but for decorations. Cross off the total value of the current quantity of rags you have and add a decoration of the same value into this area of the sheet. Dishes should look like numbers in a circle, where decorations should be numbers in cute little diamonds, so you can easily check them all and count them later in the game. And finally, we have flowers. Now, anybody here who outdoes the host is going to cross off the quantity of flowers they currently have and choose to either make a decoration or a dish of that value. But crucially, the player who has the most flowers that round, and there can only be one, gains the host's privilege and gets to become the host, putting on their fancy hat, at which point, obviously, everybody applauds. For the next round, they will gain the host's privilege of one of each supply, and they're in charge of the party. And at this point, it's important to remember that you carry over all the resources you still have left from the previous round. At the end of 5 rounds, you will have circled 5 different banquet goals, and if at any point a host rolls and lands on a number that's already been selected